I got my mind set on you. Why don't I have video? Oh, because I haven't done that. That should do it. I got my mind set on you. I got my mind set on you. It's Saturday morning, and when I wake up, I always have stupid songs in my head. Ah, da, 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 da. Ooh, that's nice. We'll like that. Somebody was watching Batman Returns last night. It's too early for Christmas movies. Yes. Uh, Batman. Batman is a Christmas movie. Good morning, Paul. How are we? Batman Returns specifically. Um, a random fact, actually, is just the fact that Batman is one of those characters that works so well in a holiday setting. I think I've said that before. I don't think that's a an opinion that is necessarily a contested one. But yeah, like you just have some like Superman doesn't really work in holiday settings or Spider-Man or something like that, but I always find Batman works well in Christmas settings. So things like Batman Returns and the Arkham Origins game and things like that, where they're set around Christmas, I always find them to be rather interesting, and I think it fits the mood of the character. Likewise, Halloween. I guess it's probably because he's got so many themed villains. You know, you can put Scarecrow in Halloween and stuff like that. We're good. Making cheese on toast. I've just had a bacon sarnie to start off the day. Bacon sarnie and a nice cup of tea. So yesterday at Lethal Weapon 1 is a Christmas movie. What? I would I would dispute that heavily. Um I don't know. Like, people have yet to be able to define exactly what the Christmas movie is, though, haven't they? Uh, it's still a contested subject. But I don't know. Like, does the movie invoke the spirit of Christmas? Like, so for example, they say Merry Christmas several times. Shocked me. Honestly, I can't remember them ever saying Merry Christmas. You know, people say, "Oh, well, Die Hard's not a Christmas movie." It's literally set at a Christmas party. Like he's going to meet his wife at a Christmas party. I think that's a you know, when your setting is inherently a Christmas one. It's not an office party. It's not a congratulations or sorry you're leaving us party. It is a Christmas party. You know, like, yes, okay, it doesn't necessarily hold with the spirit of Christmas, but it is still a Christmas movie. What other contested movies are there for Christmas? Like I say, Batman Returns. You've got your traditional classics, your staples of Christmas, which are inarguably Christmas movies. Jingle All the Way, Home Alone 1 and 2. Um, what other, like Muppets Christmas Carol? You know, these are inherently Christmas movies. There's no question about it. And I have spent far too much time talking about Christmas movies. Um, so I don't know. Recently watched Nightmare Before Christmas. Now people might say, well, that's a Christmas movie, and I would say maybe, but Halloween has horror movies, but as its genre, so they have more of a genre than a theme of oh, what am I trying to say? Like, you could make lots of Christmas movies. Gremlins is a Christmas movie. Um, But with Halloween, it always feels like it has to be a horror movie. So I would argue that what am I trying to say? Sorry, I'm trying to share out the fact that I'm streaming. Uh, so I do apologize. What was I trying to say? Yeah, so Halloween movies kind of like have one genre, which is which is horror movies. Um, Whereas, so I think Let Miracle on 34th Street, which is definitely a Christmas movie. I cannot multitask, but let Nightmare Before Christmas be a Halloween movie because they need them, quite honestly. Sorry, I'll be back in a second. Just right, there we go. Everything is sent off. Blah 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 blah. I'm back with yous. I do apologise. Um, oh, right. I'm glad you're on. I saw Death in the Family in Asda earlier and was going to ask you, is it worth buying? Says it's an interactive movie, which confused me. Ta-da! It's almost like I was reading your mind. Is it worth it? Right. It's interesting that you call it a movie because it's not. And despite the fact that it's written right there on the box, people have done a really bad job of trying to explain what this is. It's not a movie. You might see, and I'm trying to. It says the DC Showcase animated shorts. So, let me have a look. Where is it? Where is it? Give me 2 seconds. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? I am currently looking through. There it is. So, if you buy the DC animated movies, you will. Some of them, about 10 years ago, started coming with these what were called showcases, which were these little 10-minute cartoons. And when was this produced? This will give you some idea. In 2010, so literally 10 years ago, they put this together, which is called Superman Shazam: The Return of Black Adam, DC Original Shorts. So what they did was they took all of the showcases that they had, put them all on one disc with an extra short, which was slightly longer. It was like 20 minutes. Incidentally, Superman Shazam: The Return of Black Adam is really good. And that was it. And they never did any more. They started doing the showcases again two years ago or something like that. And literally what this is exactly what that was 10 years ago. It's a collection of shorts. So you've got Sergeant Rock, Adam Strange, The Phantom Stranger, and Death, which have all previously been released on other Blu-rays. And then they've done this Batman, Death in the Family. So, don't buy it digitally. If you want to buy it, you have to buy it physically because otherwise you don't get the interactivity. So basically what happens is, good morning, Shannon. You've probably seen it on the box, Paul, but periodically, during the course of the movie, you will basically get multiple choice options as to what you want to happen within the story. And what it ultimately... So, what's the best way to put it? If you're a fan of Death in the Family, the story, you know what happens. And what you literally get if you go down that route, is what you would get if you bought it digitally, which is just Batman recapping the events of Under the Red Hood, which was a different animated movie from over 10 years ago. But then you can go down all these little branching paths, and really all it is just what-if scenarios. And it's not it's not a really good adaptation of Death in the Family, because Death in the Family is its own story. It's a story about the Joker and Jason Todd's mother and Ra's al Ghul. And this really doesn't touch on any of that. This literally starts with the conceit of, do you want Robin to live or die? Now, what's really nice about that is the fact that when they went to kill Jason Todd in the comic books, the audience got the chance. There was the opportunity for Jason Todd to live, but apparently by as close a margin as 76 votes, almost like the US presidential election, a decision was made. And that's it. So, do you want... The question you're asking is it worth it? It's worth it if you've not seen the shorts, the other showcases, and you want to mess around with something for 20 minutes. It took me about 40 minutes to go through the whole thing and see, because I think they said there's something like 21... It's either 12 or 21 different endings. And it took me about half of an hour, 40 minutes to go through pretty much all of them. And that's it. Literally, that's the sum total of it. So, yeah. What I would say is that in regards to the other showcases, the Phantom Stranger and the Death Showcase are really, really good. The Adam Strange one, honestly, I can't remember it at all. And the Sergeant Rock one is interesting, but I would not consider myself a well-versed Sergeant Rock fan. I know, obviously, he leads Easy Company and stuff like that, but Sergeant Rock always appears in the most weirdest places. And, yeah, the issue that I have with this, though, the one issue that I do have, is that... let me just pull Under the Red Hood. So this is Under the Red Hood. This is the movie that this is the prequel of. Who played... Jensen Ackles played Jason Todd in this movie. But he was replaced in this one by somebody else. And it doesn't tell me who. Vincent Martella. And it's just kind of weird because Jensen Ackles did such a good job with Under the Red Hood that basically seeing exactly the same animation, just with a different voice. However, it is Bruce Greenwood as Batman, and Bruce Greenwood is an excellent Batman. I mean, Bruce Greenwood's just an excellent actor anyway. Right, okay, so hopefully that answers your question. It really doesn't. Is it worth it? If you don't mind spending 15... If you think 12 quid or something, however much it is. If you think 12 quid is a solid financial investment for an hour and a half's worth of content, then go for it. Good morning, Shannon. Good morning, Jordan. Under the Red Hood is awesome. Yes, it is. It's still probably one of my top 2 favorite DC animated movies of all time. The other one being, I'm just leaning over here to my DC animated collection. The other one being, if people have never seen it, it's still in its shrink wrapper. Believe me, I've watched it many, many times before. It's just, I had it on DVD and I upgraded to Blu-ray and I've never watched it since. The original Wonder Woman movie. This is exceptional. Really, really, really good. Written by Gail Simone. It's basically the origin of Wonder Woman and has one of the absolute best put-downs in the entire history of cinema. when Ares, the god of war, and Hippolyta are fighting at the beginning of the movie. Hippolyta is Wonder Woman's mother, and Ares turns around and says, you seem as eager to meet me on the battlefield as you once did in the bedroom, Hippolyta. And you think to yourself, ooh, that's got a sting. And Hippolyta just looks at him and goes, I hope you're more skilled in this arena, Ares. And you were just like, oh, damn, girl, you just, oh, never mind. Haha. Right, okay. Under the Red Hood is awesome. Yes, no, I saw nothing on the box. Yeah, okay. This was very helpful, Tarman. Tell me though, have I swayed you one way or the other? I'm interested to know whether or not you're going to buy it or not. Adam Strange was okay, arguably the best of those shorts, but was predictable. You know what? That's kind of weird. Like, I distinctly remember, the Phantom Stranger one, because it was all trippy and psychedelic and all of that stuff, and I love the Phantom Stranger. I'm not necessarily keen on the revelation of who the Phantom Stranger is, but whether or not that's canon or not. Actually, you know what? I kind of did. Now that I think about it, I probably kind of did enjoy the revelation of who the Phantom Stranger was. If you want to know who the Phantom Stranger is, I'll talk a little bit about that. But I loved the Death one as well. I just thought it was nice, you know, doing Death from Neil Gaiman's Sandman. I also like Batman Dark Knight Returns. I think it's my favourite Batman animated movie. The Dark Knight Returns movies are great, yeah. They're very, very good. And what was his name? RoboCop, wasn't it? Who played Batman? I can't remember the actor's name. The guy who played RoboCop in the first two movies. Mask of the Phantasm and Return of the Joker are up there for me. Couldn't disagree. When I say that Under the Red Hood is one of my favorite Batman animated movie, probably what I should preface that being as, in regards to all of the DC animated movies that they have produced under the DC AU banner, it's probably my favorite. Mask of the Phantasm, and let's take Return of the Joker out of the equation at the moment, purely because of the fact that while Return of the Joker is amazing, it still fits within the Batman Beyond timeline, and I have my own problems with the Batman Beyond timeline. That said, Return of the Joker is phenomenal, and I remember when I first got to see the unedited version of that film, and also saw the deleted scenes that they had planned for it, which they never animated, but they showed the storyboards for. My floor was on the floor, because you were just like, how did they get away with this in a kid's cartoon? So put that to one side. Batman Mask of the Phantasm. It might be a strong argument can be made that it is the best Batman movie ever made. And when I say Batman movie, I'm not prefacing it with animated or anything like that. I'm simply saying, like, best Batman movie ever made. And also came out at the cinema as well, so you can't argue that. And if you're going to argue, you know, if you're going to say, like, what's the best Batman movie that ever came out at the cinema? Well, it is. It's Mask of the Phantasm. I also like, yes, you have. No, I'll give it a miss. Yeah, fair enough. I would. Like, if you've seen Under the Red Hood, I don't see any reason to pick it up. Flashpoint is my favorite DC animated movie. It's good. It's good. Definitely. Sorry. Do apologise. Uh, right. Okay. So, how are we all? I do apologise to all of the people that are coming in going, why is he not talking about Transformers? We talk about all sorts here on a Saturday morning. However, do you want to know something about Transformers? Something special happened. If you follow me on Facebook or Twitter, you'll probably know, but these two arrived. Now we can put this guy down for now. We can put him down because he's essentially just every car that we've had for the last 3 years. You know, they all have pretty much the same transformation. It's just their body proportions and stuff slightly change. And in fact, really, when you think about it, the Autobot car figure has not evolved at all in 40 years, has it really? Because it's exactly the same. And I'm not complaining about this. There's not a great deal more you can do, but it's just these legs fold up into these legs. Okay, the way they've changed is different now. Obviously, in the original G1 toys, you would just literally shove the feet up. Now, obviously, these fold in, but the waist still turns around. The hood literally comes up, and the arms fold in. It's exactly the same. You know, there's been no major leaps forward in terms of the car. Having said that, this is still a lovely Prowl. I really love it. The classic Generation 1 gun that he comes with, the fact that he does have moulding for ports, rather, for his shoulder cannons, yet does not come with them. That is an interesting thing that I have noticed. But let's talk about this guy. Okay, so I love Ironhide. He is in my top 5 characters of all time. I don't know. He's great. I really, really love him. And how long have we been waiting for an Ironhide figure that is reminiscent of his Generation 1 appearance, to the extent that, one, it's a good toy, and two, it's a good representation of Ironhide? And the answer is, we've been waiting 35 years, because we've never had a good Ironhide toy. I discount Masterpiece, obviously, from this equation, because it is not a bog standard off-the-shelf release. And I don't count third party either. This is obviously a remold. It's a remold of the Ironhide and Ratchet and the Crosshairs figure that came out a year or so ago. Obviously, the big thing being now that he has this canopy business, and obviously he's got the glass window and things like that. Now, I love that mold. It's chunky, it's beefy, it's everything that you think of when you think of Ironhide and Ratchet. Crosshairs, maybe not necessarily, but it's still good. And then to remold it into this and to give us basically the best Generation 1 Ironhide toy ever is absolutely fantastic. Again, comes with an excellent representation of his G1 gun. The only difference being is that obviously he doesn't come with his battle platform. Having said that, though, he now has this, and it's a platform that has guns. Is it a battle platform? I don't know. And quite honestly, the only reason he came with a battle platform anyway was because, you know, the toy just happened to have it. So yeah, I've got these guys, and I've got to admit, like, I'm very, very happy. I'm very, very happy. I'm looking forward to getting Ratchet when he's released later on in the year. I think he's getting released December, isn't he? So looking forward to getting Ratchet. I think that will really, really set the set off very, very nicely. I'm not bothered about the. I honestly don't even know who it is. What's the name of the female medical bot that he comes with? Couldn't care less. Unlike Prowl, where I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll buy Prowl. No idea. And it's not. I'm not ragging on female Autobots or anything like that. It's just I don't know who that person is. I'm hoping, however, that there are a lot of people who still want that mold, so that I can just get rid of it, and then recoup some of the cost that I'm having to pay for Ratchet. I've just been reminded by Trish that we haven't brought Gotham by Gaslight, which she wants to see. Gotham by Gaslight is really good. Definitely worthwhile. Also, as well, if you've never read the actual comic book that it's based off, very different to the animated movie. However, they're both still good. Like Batman versus Jack the Ripper in Victorian London, where the Robins essentially play the role of the Baker Street Irregulars. If you're a fan of Sherlock Holmes, that's basically what that is. It's a great movie, so I would recommend that one. But as I say, I would also recommend the comic as well. Underrated. Unrelated, I saw Thu's video for Cup, and I've been saying I wasn't interested in Cup. And now Thu, through his cunning marketing strategy with Zavi, has now made you want to buy Cup. Oh, that dirty influencer. Dirty influencer. Yeah, you know what it is? That toy looks fine, and I will buy it. I am still, however, not happy with the head. That's the only problem I have with that Cup mold. And again, getting Cup's colours right are always a challenge, I find. And there we have it. It's a G1 camper van with feet stuck on the back. I love it. It's exactly the same problem that every Ironhide has. He is just pieced to bits. This van has been welded and pieced together in so many ways, and it's terrible. But I adore it. I do. I think this is definitely one of those toys that is going to require stickering up. You're going to need to... Something needs to be done about that window, because you can just see his head in there, so that needs to be covered up. These windows need to be glossed, stickered up and things like that. But other than that, he's fantastic. He's just a chunky brick that you can just bash over somebody's head. Shattered Shockwave. Huh? Where? We already got a great Shockwave toy. It's more about character for me to buy a Transformer. No, I agree, Jordan. I agree wholeheartedly. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I've gone through the buy everything mentality because it's there. And I've come to regret it because I just have tubs and tubs and tubs of Transformers that I have no connection with and that I really need to get rid of. But the sheer volume is like, oh, where do you even start? And, how do you want to get rid of it? It is such a pain. And so now I've cut down on so many characters, and and really only focused on the ones that I care about. And when I say care about, what I mean is that I want as a complete a collection as possible of like the Sunbow cartoon show characters. Cup will always be my favourite because he was my first ever Transformer. I wasn't thrilled by his colours in the picture, but on camera he didn't look anywhere near as bad. No, no, the colours, the colours on Cup actually do look a lot better in hand. The only issue I've got is that head sculpt. That's literally the only thing that is an issue for me. Yeah. That's it. That's it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm saying it's an issue for me. It's not like I'm not going to buy it because it's Generation 1 Cup. And as much as I liked as much as I was a fan of the Titan Masters Cup, and I still think it's a good cup, the best cup toy we've had, I think the Studio Series 1 will top it ever so slightly. Wouldn't Alpha Trion be the first Transformer? No. Well, I mean, it depends, really, I guess. I mean, he's part of the 13, if you buy into that shit. I do apologise. I hate the 13. I hate the concept of the 13. I hate anything to do with the 13. It's needlessly complicated marketing bullcrap. And I think it has been responsible for some of the worst decisions that have been made regarding Transformers mythology and stuff like that in forever. Now, as you will already know, I'm sure you will, because I make no secret about this, I am not a fan of the Primus origin story. I am a fan of the cartoon Quintesson story, and I can back it up with why, and I will in a minute. But the 13, no. For me, it's just Alpha Trion's a really old Transformer. But he doesn't. But because he's mysterious, and because he doesn't transform in the cartoon, doesn't suddenly make him a god. The concept of the 13, I just want to strangle it. But like I say, it's because I'm not a fan of the Primus origin story. The only series I would be okay with owning for all of them is Transformers Animated, just because I love the show so much as a whole. Couldn't agree more. In fact, upstairs I've got my almost complete Transformers Animated run. And that is I think Generation 1 and Transformers Animated are the only series, and when I say Generation 1, I mean like representations of the Generation 1 characters. That and Animated are probably the only series that I would be inclined to keep as well. My only problem with it, as it stands at the moment, is I just don't have enough space to display Animated. Which is a bit of a bummer at the moment, to be honest. Because when Generations is pumping out like Titan class figures and stuff, suddenly space starts becoming very, very limited. Wouldn't Alpha Trion, the only series, yeah. Was 30 minutes into my first viewing of Justice League Doom when you popped up. Also, finally saw Justice League War and Justice League Teen Titans to watch later. Thanks for recommending them. Oh, you're more than welcome. Justice League Doom is really good. Is that the one that I'm thinking of? Yeah, Justice League Doom, which is the adaptation of not Judas Contract. Oh, come on, what is it? What's the name of the tower that collapses in the Bible? It's where I'm getting confused here, because I was talking about the Phantom Stranger before, and now all I've got in my head is Judas Iscariot. And I'm thinking the Judas contract, but it's not. Tower of Babel. Tower of Babel. Thank you. Justice League Doom. Yeah, that's really good. It's a great story. The comic is great. What happens when what happens when Batman's plans to take down the Justice League get pinched? Justice League War. It's good. It's good. Justice League versus the Teen Titans. It's not bad. It's not bad. Justice League versus the Teen Titans is the adaptation of the Judas contract that they did. Yeah. Though you're missing quite a few between Justice League War and Justice League versus the Teen Titans. You've got Son of Batman, you've got War of Atlantis, and then you've got Teen Titans. So just be mindful there that you should really watch Son of Batman before you watch Teen Titans. Questions. Story, his favourite origin... Quintessence, favourite origin of Transformers. Yeah, it is. And I'll tell you for why. Let me get on my soapbox. It's 9:30 on a Saturday morning, and David is about to get on his transforming soapbox. Here we go. Transformers is... Okay, let's rewind a little bit. I was brought up Church of England. Okay, so I was brought up in a faith. Not the faith, but a faith. Okay? However, I was never a faithful boy. I did not necessarily buy into it. And to this day, I would still consider myself an agnostic because I'm not arrogant enough to call myself an atheist. Because how can you say for definite that it doesn't exist, that God doesn't exist? So I leave myself open to the possibility. Having said that, I am incredibly fascinated by religion. All right, to the extent that I did religious studies in GCSEs, and I watched numerous documentaries in regards to stuff like that. I find it very, very fascinating. Not only that as well, but specifically Christian theology and stuff like that allows for excellent stuff to be made about it. The Indiana Jones movies. Look, the only good Indiana Jones movies are the Indiana Jones movies where he's going after, like, Christian artifacts. Or, technically, I suppose, Jewish artifacts in the... Well, technically, I suppose they were all Jewish artifacts, but the point is, I find religion fascinating. I am not a religious person. Now, let's get on to Transformers. Now that you understand where my position's coming from, the reason that I have a problem with the Primus origin story is because of the fact that the Transformers are rendered, in the simplest of ways, they're rendered inconsequential to the overall the narrative to it. Their purpose is defined by the fact that Primus can't beat his brother, and so he needs to create the little Transformers to beat Unicron, right? Which is ultimately the purpose of the story. But what the Transformers are doing is, on a global, on an intergalactic scale, is inconsequential to the fact that these two gods are fighting, right? That's a little bit... Meh. Now, here's why the Quintesson origin story is better. The Quintesson origin story, though it has not really been the main focus, okay, is the idea that the Quintesson... And take away all of the extra stuff that's been added on, the fact that the Quintessons found Cybertron, and the fact that the Quintessons enslaved Vector Sigma, who was essentially just Primus in that universe and all that stuff. Take all of that out of the equation and simply have the idea that the Quintessons created this factory and created this line of machines, right? However, at some point during the millions of years that they're producing these machines and things like that, these machines begin to develop some sort of sentience. Now, how you want to determine how that sentience comes about, I'm totally up for, as long as you don't say, well, God made it happen, because that's just a cop-out of a story, all right? Maybe Vector Sigma is the computer that they built in order to manage the planet, which is how I've always envisioned what Vector Sigma does. Vector Sigma manages... this is really something that's set up in the Dreamwave continuity, but this idea that Vector Sigma manages the evolutionary process of Cybertron, right? That's what it's there for. It's the curator of Cybertron, right? But because Vector Sigma starts to develop an intellect, things like that, because we don't really know what the Quintessons are, you can just say that it's a product of Quintesson technology, that it learns, it grows, and it develops intelligence. And it passes that intelligence on, as we see in the key to Vector Sigma. It begins to pass that intelligence on to the Cybertronians, and as a result of that, bear with me while I take a sip, and as a result of that, the Cybertronians begin to realize that they are an oppressed species because they're being either built for war or factories, and they rise up in order to overthrow the Quintessons. And what you have is a story of technology gone awry. And in 2020, what is more of an alarming and concerning issue? Is it that one day robots are going to take jobs away, and one day we're going to build robots that are going to be able to do things that humans can do? Or is it that God did it? And there we go. That's my soapbox thing. I personally prefer the idea of the Quintessons in my head canon, as opposed to the Primus origin story, which is just, well, God did it. The only thing that doesn't fit neatly into my way of looking at it is Unicron, because I don't like the idea that he's a dark god, but at the same time, I don't like the idea that a little gremlin boy built him. Off the soapbox. Right, let's see how many people think I'm wrong. Quintesson story, my favourite origin of the Transformers. Yeah, I saw the Moonbase 2 is over 600 episodes old now. I don't listen anymore, but I'm grateful that you created it because I made lifelong mates and extended my TF knowledge through it and the forums. Thank you very much, mate. Yeah, I know. Hey, you know what? All credit to Andy and Mikey for keeping it going. I don't think Megatron has even been as much of a badass as he was in Transformers Animated. Love Corey Burton voicing him. Couldn't agree more. I think Corey does an excellent job. I don't subscribe to the So there's a couple of issues that I've got with Transformers voice acting. I don't subscribe to the idea that Peter Cullen and Frank Welker are the only people that can play Optimus Prime and Megatron. What I do have a problem with is the idea that anybody who tries to, just like we're seeing in the Netflix show, anybody who they cast as Optimus Prime who is not Peter Cullen is just doing a Peter Cullen impression. And quite frankly, and Peter Cullen has made this comment himself, it is a bad shout. It's a bad shout to basically hire somebody to sound like the guy you don't want to pay to to voice your show. And I think Corey Burton did an excellent job of Megatron and might be my favourite Megatron voice. But yeah. Tower of Babel, yes. Yeah, Justice League Doom is based off Tower of Babel. I enjoyed your masterclasses on the Quintessons, was one of my favourite videos, and the Rodimus Prime. I honestly don't remember ever doing a masterclass on the Quintessons, but then again, it was over 10 years ago. I'm not going to say I didn't. The only good Indiana Jones movies are the odd-numbered ones. Movie 5 may change that. Well, no, because if movie 5 is... Oh, right, yeah, because if it's bad, then, yeah. That's true. No, you're absolutely right. So, Grace and I were struggling for something to watch the other night. Incidentally, we've just finished rewatching The Lord of the Rings. Now, I might catch some flack for this. Grace had only ever seen the first one. Fellowship of the Ring, and I'd seen all of them, but I saw them when they came out in the cinema, so that's like over 10 years ago now. So this was the first time she was watching the second two, and it was the first time that I'd seen them since they came out. I don't know whether or not Game of Thrones has just like totally conquered the swords and sorcery genre, or it's changed the way that I think about that particular genre, which I'm not necessarily a fan of. But those movies, man, at times you were just like, for God's sakes, just get on with it. Also, as well, like, and I appreciate the fact that the books were written and it's a faithful adaptation of the books and stuff like that. But there are so many tactical mistakes that they make in that movie, especially the third one. Like I remember being in the cinema in the third movie. Spoiler alert for a movie that's like 10 years old, or long older. I remember being in the cinema in when I was watching the Return of the King, and that moment where Aragorn leaps over the boat, and then all of a sudden the army of the dead come like piling off the ship and stuff like that. And I remember that being one of the most badass moments in that movie. It's not really. It's not a good shot at all. It seems to lack any emotional impact, but then again, you're 2 hours into an almost 4-hour movie at that point. You just want it to end. Incidentally, though, what he should have done, rather than taking his undefeatable ghost army to the city and stuff, why didn't he just march the ghost army into Mordor? This indestructible ghost army, why didn't he just decimate Mordor in one go? I have no idea. Or split them up. They're completely unkillable. They're already dead. That is my... but going back to Indiana Jones, we watched Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then we started watching Temple of Doom. And right off the bat with Temple of Doom, it feels bad. Like, in comparison to Raiders. Like, Raiders starts off with him running away from boulders and being betrayed, and then having the government come and recruit him to try and find the Ark of the Covenant. Like, the stakes are, like, massive. And then Temple of Doom starts with he's got a jar of something that he's giving to a bloke, and they poison him, and this really farcical confrontation takes place in a nightclub, and then he escapes a plane on a dinghy. Look, I don't care what dinghies are made out of. As soon as they hit the ground, they would be dead. And people make fun of the fridge from Temple of the Crystal Skull. I would perhaps argue that Temple is the worst Indiana Jones movie. But then they completely redeem themselves with The Last Crusade, which is outstanding. Outstanding. Hold on a sec. Let's go back. I'm not as smart or articulate as Christopher Hitchens to call myself an atheist. I used to love his videos back in the day. Oh, Christopher Hitch. I wish the Hitch was alive today. I would be fascinated to hear what he has to say. I think he would also be fucking terrified with what is going on today. Does this mean you prefer Primacon creating Unicron over being a god? Good episode. Yeah, well, that's the problem, Paul. That's, as I said there, just at the end, the origin of Unicron is one that you can't necessarily square away with my thing, because I don't like the Primacron idea. I think you could flesh out the Primacron idea. Let's try a little thought experiment. How do you get the Primacron idea to work with Unicron? What if, here we go, and this is right off the bat, I have never thought about this before until now. What if Primacron was the programmer for the Quintessons, who programmed Vector Sigma, right? So actually, when we say he built Unicron, what he actually did was build another Vector Sigma. Instead of it being called Vector Sigma, you can call it Unicron. And so the monitor room inside of Unicron, which is essentially his brain, is essentially just Vector Sigma 2.0. Primacron has a major falling out with... Primacron has a major falling out with... Oh, hold on a sec. I'm going somewhere here with it. There's a major falling out with the Quintessons for whatever reason. When he departs, or he escapes, when he escapes the clutches of the Quintessons and flees to the outer rims of the galaxy, he also takes with him the Matrix of Leadership, which is, as we know, one of the keys to activating Vector Sigma, but is also a depository of knowledge, okay? So he pinches it. That's why you see the Matrix fly up when Primacron looks like he's getting killed and whatever it is. And so in the outer rim of the galaxy, he builds the next version of Vector Sigma, Unicron. He builds it on a planet very similar to Unicron, with the sole intent that he intends to use his new creation to get revenge on the Quintessons by creating a malevolent AI. The problem is Unicron attacks. However, because Unicron was programmed to destroy Cybertron, that is why he keeps wanting to destroy Cybertron. It's kind of like an inbuilt reaction into his brain. Yes, he can think for himself, but ultimately his main goal in life is to do it. There we go. There's an explanation as to where Unicron comes from. Where are we? Self-aware machines are absolutely a danger. Logic dictates that the most dangerous thing to humans is other humans. Well, it's very true. You don't see anybody in the animal kingdom marching into other people's countries and blowing them up, do you? Congratulations to you and TF Nation family, 42 Patreons on YouTube. Thank you very much. Stay tuned later today. That's all I'm going to say there. Making machines decide projects entirely potentially leads to a decision is one way to end human suffering, and then Skynet. Well, I would like to think that we wouldn't go that far. The Lord of the Rings and Kins. Are you a Star Wars fan? I am I am a relapsed. I am a lapsed Star Wars fan. I I was a massive Star Wars fan when I was a kid. I was hyped to hell the day Episode One was due to so in the UK. So what, this is 1999 when Episode 1 came out. In the UK, we were due to get Episode 1 like a month or two after the States. And I was so desperate to see Episode 1 that I convinced my parents to change the dates on our holiday, pardon me, so that I could go out to the States and see Star Wars Episode 1 before it came out here. Pretty much from then on, it's been a steady decline in regards to my Star Wars fandom, and I was not a fan of those last three movies. What an absolute pile of dog swill. I keep hearing people tell me how great The Mandalorian is, and that's fine, but The Mandalorian is a spin-off, and those three movies have absolutely killed it for me. I think whoever was responsible for putting those three together should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. When you come onto a project like Star Wars, I do not care what your political leanings are and stuff like that, but you have a responsibility to leave that franchise in a state that you found it in. It is not yours to mess around with. You can do different things with it, but when you have a movie franchise that is not yours and has been under the curation of one man, whether you think George Lucas is a good storyteller or you don't, that's irrespective. That is one man's life's work, and you don't mess around with it in the stinking dog pile of a level that they did with those movies. Bringing the Emperor back. What? No, it just annoys me because it completely undermines the entire first six movies. So annoyed by it. So no, I'm very much not a Star Wars fan anymore. Godhood in the Transformers universe, my head simple case level of power and tech. 13 Vector, Unicron, Primus are simply crazy levels of power. Well, except for the fact that, like, above Unicron and Primus there is the One, like, the source of everything. You know, it's... define what God is. That's the hard question, isn't it? Star Trek, one of like my favorite characters in that show is Q. Is Q a god? Well, he might very well be. Like, if Q showed up on Earth today, he would be God. The only reason he's not God in the 24th century is because, for the most part, you never really get a sense that anybody who's on board the Enterprise is particularly religious, with the exception of other races, the Klingons, for example. Like, we know an awful lot about the Klingon gods, but you don't see Picard or Riker or Crusher going to church, and that's probably the only reason that they don't consider Q to be a god. But he's certainly omnipotent. With the only exception of those that can stop him being other members of the Q Continuum. People always cite Tolkien as the inspiration for fantasy, but having read them, I would say long been surpassed. The books have actually put me off watching the movies. I tried reading the Lord of the Rings book many, many, many years ago, and it's impenetrable in terms of the way it's written. Is there a load of singing in the Lord of the Rings movies? I've read 3 books lately that have included bards, and there wasn't much singing as in Lord of the Rings. Yeah, there is. Yeah, the singing all the time. Actually, the music from Lord of the Rings is very nice. never got. I remember watching Fellowship at the cinema and couldn't get into it, and every one of my mates was like, "You have to watch it," and it put me off. Yeah, people from Middle Ages with our computers, mobile phones, heck, waving a cigarette lighter would look like gods or demons. Completely agree. It's all about context, really, isn't it? Love the, but the difference is, the difference between that is that you can then explain. Like, for example, right, we currently have 11 people in this chat, right? Going to do a bit of a thought experiment here. How does an LP work? Right? There's a bit of technology that is well over half a century old, maybe even older. A century old, okay? It's old tech, okay? How does it work? How does a piece of plastic with a couple of holes in it make a sound like a human being? I guarantee that there is probably not one person watching this chat at the moment who can adequately explain how it works. Like what the process is. Which means that, modern technology doesn't even have to be complicated. Old technology is complicated. I very much doubt there are, and I'm not trying to rag on anybody because I don't know the answer either. But you can find somebody who understands, and you can sit them down and you can have a conversation with them about this particular piece of technology or whatever it is, and they can try and help explain it to you. And that's the separation between God and everything else. You can't explain God. Like, if you want to define God as God, the unknowable. I love that Primacron idea. Maybe he left and he set off safety measures that stopped the Quintesson slave robots becoming self-aware. Yeah, like, plenty of options. Somebody let me write a Transformers comic. Magic. Yeah, alright, Jamie. Is it Jamie? I'm assuming it's Jamie. No, I've been up for hours, mate. I like the idea of Primacron. I also have a theory that the Quintessons was behind the war of the Transformers to weaken them so they could take back the planet. Makes perfect sense to me. Stoke the fires. Or alternatively, just it's the very fact that machines that are built for war versus machines that are built for manufacture would just not get along. So, have you ever seen Star Wars Rogue One regarded equal to Empire Strikes Back? Yes, Rogue One is an excellent film. Rogue One is I really, really liked Rogue One. Incidentally, the only time in a Star Wars movie where Darth Vader is portrayed as an actual threat. Say what you will about how visually imposing Darth Vader is. If you watch, I mean, he's not in the first three movies because really Darth Vader doesn't exist until he puts the suit on. Yes, I know he's called Darth Vader beforehand, whatever. But in those first three movies, and this is purely just a limitation of the time that the movies were made, the only person he genuinely fights is Luke Skywalker, who is somebody who has only been training for like a couple of weeks to be a Jedi. And then by the time Luke gets to the point where he's in Return of the Jedi, Luke easily kicks his ass. So Rogue One is nice in the sense that it finally gives Darth Vader a reason to be a badass. My theory was the Quintessons created Unicron as a weapon to retake Cybertron. He got out of hand and wiped most of them out, hence why you never see many of them. Primacron is a con man with tech. That works. I quite like that one as well. Yeah, just this idea that he's just this little dude. Mr. Powell, morning, Dave. I'm expecting Earthrise, Ironhide, and Sunstreaker today. He's a beaut. He's a camper man. I haven't got Sunstreaker, but yes, very, very good. The late James Rose. Oh, bless. Right, all. I do apologise, but I'm probably going to have to call it. I've been on for about an hour now, and things are, well, let's have 5 minutes. Has anybody got any more random questions that they want to ask? 5 or 10 more minutes, and then I need to start making a start on my day, which I don't really know what that is, to be honest, but let's go. Come on, let's go home. Otherwise, I will just spend the next 5 or 10 minutes on my soapbox talking about the state of the world, which I don't like because I'm an old man. Oh. No? Okay. No comments at all. So soapbox it is. Let's get really divisive here. Let's talk about the US presidential election, shall we? That's a shit show, isn't it? Oh, well, there we go. Paul, how long before we get results across the pond? Well, apparently, according to the news, it could be as late as December. Georgia have said that they're going to do a recount, and that could take until late November because of the fact that they can't officially start a recount until... Pardon me, sorry, God, that's gassy. Can't start a recount until they finalise the actual election results, and then they have to do the recount. I guess it's just the way it goes. So yeah, we could be looking at late November before we get... It depends on how many of Trump's legal challenges go through. Now, I'm going to give the devil his due here. I think that if an election result is less than 0.5%, then I think Donald Trump is absolutely 100% within his right to challenge that decision. I think any election that is so close that it's literally a couple of thousand votes, I think that is fair ground to turn around and say, I would like this recounted. Absolutely. Having said that, that's one state. And so if you take that out of the equation, and you've still got Pennsylvania, you've still got Nevada, and all of that stuff, just the fact that day by day it's getting worse for him, I wish I was a fly on the wall in the Oval Office. I would be howling. It's not that the man is an odious, contemptible, horrendous human being. Step that aside. It is the fact that he's a baby and we're literally watching a grown man-child throw a hissy fit. A grown man-child, incidentally, who is the most powerful person in the world. Well, actually, second most powerful person in the world. The Queen's the most powerful person in the world, from a legal standpoint anyway, but the President of the United States is definitely right up there. I would very much like to watch him just complain and complain and complain right up until January 10th, when he has to just concede, when he's driven from the White House. Like, that is going to be an absolutely beautiful, beautiful sight. I am fascinated, however, with what he is going to do post-presidential. People are talking about the fact that he could very well run in 2024. He has that right. He's only done one term as president. So if he were to remain in politics, and he would still be, even if he goes again in 4 years' time, he would still be younger than Joe Biden is now. But the question is, would Trump allow himself to go back into politics? And I don't think he would, because I think he'll become an absolute pariah. I really, really do. I think the Republicans will very quickly attempt to distance themselves from him, especially the way he's acting now. You can already hear certain Republicans saying, like, look, as much as we may disagree politically, democracy is still democracy, and it's what separates us. So, yeah, I hope that we get a little bit more entertainment out of him, but ultimately, Biden's won, hasn't he? Like, the concern is, the big concern, however, is that almost 70 million people in the United States voted for him. Now, I know that the United States, there was, apparently he's got just under 70 million, Biden's got just over 70 million, so that's a, 100 and, let's just round it up nicely and just say that it's 140 million people. Population USA. The US has a population of 328.2 million as of 2019, which means that if only 14 million people came out to vote, minus children and stuff like that, you are still looking at a country that is incredibly divided, and needs some kind of unifying, something unifying. The only problem with something like that is, if you look back in history at the times when the US has seemingly been unified around a political leader, it's generally when bad stuff is going on. And I don't want bad stuff to happen. So, yeah. There we go. There's my political soapbox. What have we got? Put the radio on, work Wednesday so I could hear the news. Never would have guessed that come the weekend I'd still be waiting to hear. Mail-in ballots, the US election. The man is an embarrassment to his country and another disgrace to the world. Could not agree more. I'm now looking forward to Assassin's Creed Ragnarok next week. Fell off the Assassin's Creed franchise many, many years ago with Assassin's Creed 2. Never really got back into it. Did enjoy Black Flag, however. He said he'll have to be dragged out of the White House. I would, yeah, top dollar, I would pay for that as well. What do you think of Ironhide? He's perfect, but there's something about his chest I can't put my finger on. Yeah, it doesn't sit entirely square. My biggest issue is the fact that the see-through plastic means that his head is on display and stuff. I mentioned this earlier on in the stream. Need to get some stickers on him. Sure, Iran still have a warrant out for his arrest. It would be hilarious to see him go to jail. And finally, not saying all that Trump's followers are racist, but quite a lot of the state considered racist voted for him. I think the term racist is bandied about in a very unfortunate manner in this day and age. There are an awful lot of... I don't believe that all Trump supporters are racists. I think there are a lot of Trump supporters out there who vote for him purely because he's He's not your typical politician. And quite frankly, whether you like him or you don't like him, he's more engaging and more interesting to watch than Joe Biden. It's a bit like over here in the UK. Like, say what you will about Boris Johnson and whether or not he's a good prime minister or not, but he's more interesting than Keir Starmer, who has the personality of a baked potato, you know. Anyway, there we go. Look, I'm done. The fact that Biden's getting in is an excellent thing, just to get him out. I'm off, everybody. Have yourselves a good weekend. Also, as well, just keep an eye out on social media today. Like TFN. And I will catch you all later. Take care, everybody. Bye.